name is Habeeb Jaiyeola. I'm the director with PriceWaterhouseCooper, PwC. Permit me to stand on all existing protocol. And you're welcome to this very, very interesting, thought-provoking seminar where we'll be going through 3 days of very intensive technical conversation within the energy sector in Africa, in West Africa, in Nigeria. And we'll be talking about a panel right now which speaks to maximizing mineral potential. I won't be alone on this panel. I'm going to be having esteemed panelists that will join me. And the first person that will join me on stage, and as I'm calling my panelists, please a warm round of applause for them. These are technocrats in the sector. I will call on Dr Garba, the Director General of the Nigerian Geological Survey Agency. Round of applause for Dr. Garba. Stage. You're welcome, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Next to Dr. Garba, I will call on Engineer Simon Nkom, the Director General Mining Cadastre Office, who will also join me on stage. Round of applause for Engineer Nkom. You're welcome, sir. Thank you so much. I will also call on Mr. Emeka Offer, the ESCO of NIPC. Is Mr. Emeka around? Yeah, not sure Mr. Emeka is in the room at the moment. So, in addition to that, Mr. Segun Lawson, the Chief Executive Officer of Thor Exploration. Mr. Segun Lawson. A round of applause for Mr. Lawson. You're welcome. Thank you so much for joining us on stage. And I will call on Mr. Cyril Azobu, the partner and mining leader for PwC Nigeria. Mr. Azobu, yes, please join us on stage. A round of applause for Mr. Cyril Azobu. And last but not the least, okay, thank you so much. I've just been informed that Mr. Gbenga Onimowo represents Mr. Khalid Dokani of the country CEO of Lafarge Africa PLC. So Mr. Gbenga, if you are here, please join us. Thank you so much. You're welcome, Mr. Gbenga. Thank you so much. Excellent. So that's my panel. A round of applause once again for my panelists. Like I said, these are technocrats within the sector, and we'll be going through very thought-provoking conversations in the mining sector. The topic today is maximizing mineral potential. And we'll be moving the questions around. And when we talk about maximizing mineral potential, it's about ensuring that mining on the mineral resources act as a source of shared prosperity for the people of any country. So the main question right now is, when we look at it from the way the world is, and a lot of work that has been done, I will start with Dr. Abdulrazaq, the DG NGSA. Sir, from your experience and the work done so far by the federal government of Nigeria in data gathering, especially within the NIME project, what has been the success story? What have we seen? And what should the investing populace be excited about as to the progress of mining within Nigeria especially, and as we see it across the globe, where mining is going at the moment, specifically to the NIME project? Over to you, sir.
since the establishment of the Nigerian Geological Survey Agency since 1992. Data generation has been going on. But then, the data generated as events unfold suggest that most of these data sets are not really tied to the sector. It is basically about identifying the different rock types that we have in this part of the world. However, with the identification of different types of mineral we have in the country, and subsequently the Ministry of Mines and Steel Development classifying some as strategic minerals, we decided to embark on data generation that will meet the interest of the stakeholders. This led to the development of the NIME project. And the NIME project has been carried out, completed, and what we are beginning to see in Nigeria is a suite of minerals that the investors are interested in. What are these minerals? Nigeria, we know we have a lot of gold resources. The NIME project is beginning to show, beyond what we have on the surface, in the subsurface, from drilling data, that we have enrichment in gold types that is associated with silver, lead, tungsten. Now, in some of these areas that we have identified, we find out that even in core strengths that we have, for those who are technically inclined, at meter level intersection, we have up to 30 grams per ton. We also have over 1,000 grams per ton tungsten mineralization associated with some of these gold deposits. In our lead zone, that is within the DNA network, we've discovered that we have significant anomalies in several areas of lead, zinc, copper mineralization, which is being attested to by several few companies that are currently working in Nigeria. Now, what we are beginning to see in this terrain also suggests that we have what we call NBT type lead zinc mineralization. And one of the key features of this NBT type mineralization is that once you find one, you have several other more. Talk of iron ore, we have a lot of these resources. The key thing, or the key word now is this. Nigeria, from this project, we discovered that we have high-grade rock-type lithium ore in Nigeria, which basically is spodumene. In Nigeria, what we see is that within our pegmatites, the standard at 0.4% is mining. But in Nigeria, we have lithium oxide grade reaching up to 13%. These are some of the results we have achieved from the project, and I believe investors, from the responses from the roadshow that we have been carrying out all over the world, in South Africa, in Canada, in Australia, and in the UK, a lot of inquiries are coming in. Junior mining companies are coming into Nigeria, and service providers are coming into Nigeria. Thank you. Let me stop at that.
Round of applause for Dr. Garba, please. Thank you so much. So it's interesting because we all know data is the heart of mining, and the fact that there's a lot of investment in data gathering really excites investors. And I think the next thing we will then look at really is how are we going to then have those investors access the data. You know, one of the key areas that we probably would speak to will be those who really have been operating in the sector. So I'll take my next question to Mr. Segun Lawson, the CEO of Thor Exploration. So as an experienced miner in the West Market in Nigeria, what would be your summary or advice on next steps to would-be miner and how to establish a sustainable mining sector in West market, in Nigeria especially, from your experience end to end? I think that's a very pregnant question, but I'll leave you to do it.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Please allow me to stand on existing protocols. I'm truly honoured to be here speaking at this panel. We found that here in Nigeria, the key thing for us has been the support system. We have a framework in which to work in, which is the Mining Act, and it's very enabling. A lot of the incentives put in there are in order to allow players to come in, set up, operate in the country. However, the mining sector being almost in its infancy when you compare us to the oil and gas sector, for example, or the telecoms or banking sector, we found that it has been a learning experience for us. So, like you mentioned earlier, Dr. Garba mentioned, having the data is one thing, having access to the data is also another thing, but without the support system and the framework, it's not possible to do. There could be, the highest grade gold deposits or lithium deposit. If you can't extract it efficiently, as designed, legally, then it's of no use. What we found, and it's a real testament, I have to thank the Honourable Minister, the Ministry, the Mining Cadastre Office. There isn't any roadblock that we come to where we can't reach out to them to try and brainstorm and unlock what the issue is. I think in order to successfully operate in Nigeria, the support system is one, but secondly, and we found this throughout our time here, has been stakeholder engagement, whether it's communities on your CSR, whether it's employment, whether it's upskilling of people who are non-technical, training them to become more technical, so knowledge sharing from our expats to more Nigerians. Those are the key areas. And then from then, we found that you don't have to go very far back in history to see what happens. If you look at Ghana, you look at Burkina Faso, you look at Mali, you have one successful mining developer not managing stakeholders efficiently in the beginning, but we have found that it's been a key for us. CSR, someone asks what our security budget is. Our biggest security has been the local community employment, them knowing that they've got a stake in the project to succeed as well. So I think I'll leave it there. I hope that answers your question to start with.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. I think it speaks to those matters, and when we speak to success stories, we need to learn, from them, and other players have to know what are those, how to walk the path. And I think my next question will also go to Mr. Gbenga Onimowo from Engr in Nigeria. I think the question to you would really be, what tied to the success of limestone? What exactly made limestone a success in quotes? What value assisted limestone to be success it is? Can you try your team? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let me start on existing call. Thanks for giving us the opportunity. Like you mentioned, Lafarge Africa PLC, we've been in this sector for over 6 decades now. It's come with a lot of experience. You can imagine how much we've contributed to the development of this economy through this involvement in the mining sector. Specifically, our products varies, wide range, and largely with most of our raw material coming from limestone, which we've been mining. And I think the important thing which has also driven our success is the fact that we're not just mining limestone, but you see the bridge with the mining and the manufacturing. So we're converting this into products that actually been very important in the infrastructural development of our country. And this is a big success for us. We've been with the products that we actually market. We have actually supported infrastructural development, whether on a small scale basis of individual home builders or major infrastructural development projects like roads, buildings, bridges. For us, this is part of the big story for us. We pride ourselves in Nigeria to say Lafarge Africa, we built the city, and really, when you look at all the structures, you can see definitely with the high quality of product that we actually supply to meet the needs of the Nigerian market, that's actually supported this. And for us, really, when you talk about sustainability, it's the core of our essence. Everything we do, sustainability is actually in it. And if it's not entrenched, we actually would probably go into it. So the sustainable mining for us is key. And that's why with the current changes in the global climate conversations, it's very important that as a people, as an industry, we continue to look in this direction. So for Lafarge Africa PLC, in fact, when I saw the theme for this event, talking about towards a greener, green Africa. I mean, for us, we also have, because our strategy for the next 5 years is actually accelerating green growth. And this we started since last year. So you can imagine we're actually proactive. We can see this also, and we put in all these plans, sustainable and innovation to ensure we're actually supporting this ambition. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. A round of applause for that. Thank you so much for that response. And part of what you spoke to is not just mining, but value addition. What happens after mining? Typically making that value chain to be created, because there is something for the use of the mineral. I think that's quite apt, and thank you for that point. I will build on that point, and I'll go to the DG of the Mining Cadastre Office. We are aware currently that the government is going through a bidding process for the bitumen resource in Nigeria. That's based on what is dear to the government, and especially the fact that apart from mining, the value add is also important to the government. DG Mining Cadastre Office, could you please speak to us generally on what that transaction is about? We know your transaction advisor is here, which will give us more details. But from the government perspective, how important is this particular project to the government? Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Habeeb. The Honorable Minister, let me stand on the existing protocol. I'm privileged to be here, and I want to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity. I'm going to your question. I think from the presidential goodwill message, it's quite clear. And some of the speakers, particularly the president of AFC, The essence of the whole thing is to be able to develop Africa, and particularly develop Nigeria. It is in view of that the President and the federal government, in its determination to diversify the Nigerian economy, actually identified the Ministry of Mines and Steel Development as a strategic industry that will bring about growth and development of the sector. And we believe that the mineral sector plays a very key role in that regard. And in view of that, the ministry is strived, despite unsuccessful bidding activities that are taking place, under the able leadership of our minister, and with that diversification project, it became very, very necessary to be able to now set the stage towards the development of our abundant bitumen resource in Nigeria. And it simply meant that the second most strategic objective is to be able to bring in and get potential investors who we will be able to now concession our bitumen project, bitumen resource. This, at the end of the day, will bring in exploration of the entire resource. It will bring in development and the productivity of such particular resource. And looking at it, you ask yourself, why must we develop the bitumen resources? For now, we have abundant of that. We have probable reserves of about 42 billion reserves of barrels of that reserve. And at the same time, we need to be able to now look at inwards. What is the demand that we have? The demand in this country is for paved roads in Nigeria. We have the paved roads from last record, we have about 60,000 kilometers. Paved simply means tarred roads. And then we have about 160,000 kilometers of unpaved, which simply means one of the principal uses for bitumen is actually for tarring of roads, let me use that word. And at the same time, we have instances, we have construction, we have paving, like we said, we have hydraulic, we have, and at the end of the day, we have so many industrial uses of this resource. So you can see that there's a need. We have high demand. Nigeria in the world is ranked number 6 as in terms of the resource that we have. And at the same time, when you look at what are the benefits, we will be able to now have reasons as much as possible to be able to now conserve our foreign reserves, foreign exchange as much as possible. And as of 2020, we have spent $13 million to import bitumen. This is a resource that we have. And thereby, the government felt it was very, very necessary to develop our own reserve. And we'll be able to now have that demand. Even worldwide, globally, the global market has a value of about 42 billion. And by 2027, there will be a need for almost 66 billion, 2027. So you see that there is a rise in the value of the market. So for now, the government has taken the right step towards developing the resource that they have. And at the end of the day, it will create a multiplier effect for the industry and to a greater extent be able to now meet up with the strategy of determining to make sure that we diversify into the mineral sector towards economic growth. Thank you.
Round of applause, please. That's very, very apt and quite detailed. And thank you so much, DG MCO, from all of the statistics that you shared. It sounds like it's a very exciting project. And in line with the theme of this event, the country is not looking to take that bitumen to the crude refining aspect, to take it to asphalt, like you rightly said, for the roads. And from what you said, it's an exciting one, not for just Nigeria, for West Market, for all developing nations, that this resource will be available. The investing public should expect what has been done, what is the timeline for this particular transaction. So people who are interested can know what to expect. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Habeeb, Honorable Minister. Please permit me to stand and address the protocol. And thank you so much, Nkom, for that brief introduction of what the bitumen project is about. PwC are the transaction advisors / program managers of these projects. And
a number of projects around the world, very bankable, between $0.5 grams and 1.5 grams per ton being funded. And people look at us and they don't believe that we struggle to get funded. So like I said, it takes one success story to get the sector catalyzed, initiative by the government, stakeholders as well. So I hope that helps a bit.
Round of applause, please. Absolutely. That speaks to the question. You can only look at it from an investor like you. I'll direct the same question to Mr. Gbenga Onimowo. Also, as private sector investor, what do you think, based on all of these efforts the government is doing, how can we attract investment into this sector? What else does the government need to be aware of from your own perspective to drive investment?
Thank you. I think just like Mr. Lawson mentioned, we can't definitely emphasize the efforts of government in this direction. But again, considering the enormous opportunities in the industry, I think there's still a lot more to be done. If we bring practical to look at the challenges that you have with the private sector, especially with foreign investors, it cuts across a lot. The concerns with, you say government credibility and accountability. Some people have had some bad stories, experiences, and again, this probably could actually prevent some other new investors. So I think one of the things we see with respect to government policies is there's a good intention, and there's always a very good momentum to drive this. But the follow through, the holistic, strategy, I think is something probably we can improve upon, because investment in this sector is really for the long term. When you have those investments, the long-term investment is massive. You need to be very sure that government is with you for the long haul. So I think this is one area government can give confidence to foreign investors, especially. And we also do understand a lot of the mining activities happen in remote areas in this country. And with the pace of insecurity, it's a challenge. For investors to have to invest so much, managing security issues. I think one area government can also actually use to incentivize people to come to the table. And again, the concern around fiscal policies. So the industry with the finance sector, how we're ensuring the fiscal policies, the regulations around that are actually going to support the investments that are coming. We know the challenges with foreign exchange issues, especially with multinationals and foreign investors. So I think there's a big role that government can play in that, to actually create that enabling environment which will attract those investments more. Thank you.
A round of applause, please. Thank you so much for that response. I think those points are really speaking to key areas in the sector. You're very correct. Around the areas, government support, private sector, intention as well, security issues, and all that needs to be looked into. And from part of the feedback we've received, we can see that the government is making a lot of strides in this direction. So the support to the sector, looking at all of the issues and ensuring that they're addressing them one after the other. I think that in itself does show that Nigeria, West Market, Africa is ready for business in mining. So I think from where I stand, the government deserves a round of applause in its efforts so far. I think that should resonate in the room because of the progress made so far in this sector. One key area which like to direct that to the General of the Mining Cadastre Office is the licensing, industry per se. How people gain appropriate licenses in the sector, how people can come in to get their appropriate mining licenses in itself. What sort of reforms are we looking into, and what should excite investors as well on the ease of obtaining these licenses and how that proceeds into helping to give more investor confidence? I think that will be one of my last questions before we round up the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Cyril, and to key into the investment climate, I think we have the true African representation here, and here in Nigeria, to be able to now look at Africa generally. And at the same time, I remember the statement from the AFC in terms of resources that we have, mineral resources we have in Africa. So looking at that perspective, those are things that we don't naturally have control, but we are blessed with abundant mineral resources in Africa. And looking at all the mineral resources, you know that Africa stands very, very high in terms of those resources. And at the same time, Nigeria, favorably, like someone has said, in all the local governments in the whole area of Nigeria have one type of mineral or the other, which is actually a blessing in terms of natural resources. Secondly, the other thing that we have, which is linked, is we have, like my brother has said, the DGMDC, naturally we have a favorable geology, which gives a plus to us and gives a plus to Africa. And that is why, like someone will say, why should I come to Africa? Why should I come to Nigeria? Because looking at it from another point of view, what makes Nigeria, what makes Africa attractive? Remember when you talk about you see the aroma of a meal tends to attract you, and definitely there are some spices that are made of it. What are the spices? Looking at the particular things in terms of the country is to be able to now look at the legal framework, and look at the institutional, you look at so many other factors, and that is why if you look at the Nigerian situation, you find out that we have these programs that are there. We have the roadmap. All those are geared towards making us as attractive as possible and being able to now develop our resources that we have. And then coming down to licensing, you all agree that the licensing aspect is, we talk about the geology, we talk about the abundant mineral resources. We must be able to now make sure that if our licensing regime is not transparent enough, then definitely there will be a problem. People will have business to go to where there is more transparency, and that is why the mining cadastre is saddled with those principles. They are basic principles: transparency, non-discretional, non-subjectivity, first come, first serve, security of tenure. These are all principles that internationally an investor wants to come and find out. He looks at your mining code, compare it to any other country, and feels this is safe. What is our policies? And that is why this particular government has geared a bit forward towards our policies and so many other programs for the artisanals and so on all over the country. And the licensing is tied to that. And what makes us better? Our colleagues from the ECOWAS region, some of them are here, and we've had reasons to hold our mining expert, technical expert sessions with them. The last one was in Engr, and the essence of it is to be able to now make sure that if somebody comes to the ECOWAS country or Africa, the laws should not be too much different. The licensing system should not be too much different. And as such, it makes it easier to move from one place to the other, rather than saying, oh, we come here, it's different from the other. And in Nigeria recently, as we talk now, we've had reasons to open our zonal offices, we've had reasons to bring in a lot of programs. The essence of the whole thing is to be able to now bring our licensing system, best international practice, and as we talk now, we have migrated our system to an online system, whereby you can sit in Ghana, you can sit in Canada, you can sit anywhere in the country, in the world, to be able to now access our data. You'll be able to now access and submit applications. And you'll be able to now see it transparently. And all this will soon be launched to the public very soon, after liaison appropriately with the government. And this is the essence of licensing, to be attractive, to be ease of doing business. Because once you are able to now submit an application and see the cadastre the way it is from anywhere in the world, then I think one of the cardinal reasons and objectives has been achieved. And subsequently, there are other contracts or there are other projects that are integrated in the system. We talked about making sure that we integrate our thematic and restricted areas. We must be able to now synergize. In fact, in the ECOWAS region, we are having a platform whereby we will integrate the Nigerian system with all other ECOWAS, which is extended to Africa. Not just seeing Nigeria within itself, but all over the world and synergize. And then the units in terms of cadastral units and a lot of things are happening. And I must, at this time, selfishly have to appreciate the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and particularly the support of my minister for giving us that support towards making sure that things go on well, and it is going on well not only for Nigeria, but for West Africa and Africa. I will believe that Africa has a responsibility to develop the resources, license all those areas to the benefit of our populace. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Please, I need a round of applause to be a lot louder. Thank you so much, and it's a very good way to close this session. You will agree with me that my esteemed panelists have done justice to this topic, maximizing mineral potential, and we are all excited. They are exciting times for Africa mining. So once again, a round of applause for my esteemed panelists. And I would be so grateful. If you have any questions you want to ask them on the side during the breakout, I'm sure they're ready to discuss that with you. Thank you once again, and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to moderate this panel. Back to you.
Mr. Habeeb. Mr. Habeeb Jaiyeola.